So I'm here with four of the best and brightest leaders at Urban Promise Los Angeles, and it's truly an honor to just be able to have this type of conversation. Again, what I mentioned in my speech is ultimately Urban Promise is a community of individuals who are collaboratively working together. If you guys are in the building, then you're a part of our community, and the people on stage right now who are a part of this panel have invested so much into the formation and the longevity of Urban Promise. So once again, would you give them a round of applause? So just to start out, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Just tell us your name and how long you've been with UPLA and what ultimately led you to your involvement. I'll start with Harold.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Harold Aguayo. I serve as site director for Urban Promise Los Angeles. And I've been working with Urban Promise since June, and I've loved every single day. What brought me? Wow, that's a really good question. So I just found out about Urban Promise in May when I applied to it. My lovely wife, who's here with us, Lexi, she told me about it. Lexi does a great job of sending me jobs, even when I already have a job. So she did. That was one of those jobs that looked interesting. I've always been, and I'll talk a little bit about it in a little bit, but I've always been passionate about serving my community. I'm from the San Fernando Valley myself, born and raised in the city of San Fernando slash Pacoima, and I've always wanted to come back and represent. Went to Pepperdine University, which is just up the hill there, but I always had the passion for serving our youth, so here I am. So.
Hi, my name is Carla Rodriguez. I am a Street Leader alumni, just graduated from Canoga Park High School. And I've been with Urban Promise a little over a year. And what brought me was our former Street Leader captain. She told me about the program, and I just felt a need to join. I felt there was a lack of youth leadership, and I think that if no one goes up and joins the role, like it's never gonna happen. Things will never change. So I felt the need to initiate it, and here I am.
Uh, Hello, my name is Ericka Carceres. I am a freshman in high school at Canoga Park High School, and um, I started off as a camper, and I was encouraged into trying out to start training to be a street leader when I culminated 8th grade. So I entered, I started working with UPLA this past summer, and the first week we had our street leader training, and I really did find it interesting, and I enjoyed um, just being able to be with a group of people that supports you.
I love that. And also, fun fact, those two adorable girls that you saw in the video, those are Erica's little sisters. It's a family affair. And Horace, could I get a mic?
Oh, me. Craig T. Nelson, participant. The beauty of, I mean, there's so much in my heart right now to express, but the fundamental thing is through the church here, through what was originally Malibu Presbyterian Church and Greg Hughes and his wife Kay, we were introduced to Bruce Main, who is Urban Promise forever. And the wonder of that program was so inspirational and such a message of light in such a dark world. And it gave purpose to why I was a member of a congregation that could then participate with my wife Doria in something that was truly transformational. And lo and behold, a guy shows up here with his wife, Dionté Gray, with a program, Urban Promise LA, and we got engaged and participated. But again, it was from the genesis of being introduced to it through this church. So that's how we got involved, and we'll continue to be involved. It's just absolutely, well, it's God.
Not to put words in your mouth, Craig, but would you say it's incredible? I had to. Craig, going back to you, what was it, and you kind of touched on it a bit, but what was it about the mission and the vision of Urban Promise that really made you get involved?
Oh, gosh. Jeez. How can you not get involved? I mean, you're building hope, you're building God's world and youngsters. And, you know, giving the word empowering is just so overwhelming. But you're giving them a chance to dream. And I know I was told when I was a kid that I would never, I had potential, was pretty much my label. Well, he's got potential. The poor guy, you know. And lo and behold, I've been blessed to be able to give back. And Dory and I have endeavored to do that. But here's something that a dream is envisioned, a dream is promised, a dream comes true, and a child then goes back to a society that some of us don't know what it's like to live in, and is able to change them, and can give them not only hope and inspiration, but love. And that way we can come together as a group, regardless of where we come from, who we are, what we look like. And that's the basis of everything, isn't it? And the great part about it, you get to feel better.
Amen. Amen. We have more questions, Craig. But not yet, not yet. It's Ericka's turn. I'm so sorry. So Ericka, just coming down to you. You know, if you come to the UPLA office, what you'll see is a framed picture of Ericka from our first day of after-school program. She was one of the first campers at Urban Promise Los Angeles, and now she has a unique story because she's one of the first to go from camper to street leader. So Ericka, my question for you is, you know, ultimately, what was it like being one of the first campers back in 2020?
It was I remember the first day I walked in, and it was just me and my two little sisters and then one of their friends. And it felt really empty. But even though it did feel empty, the street leaders there, they made it feel very welcoming. And they made it seem like, oh, like we could still have fun, even though we don't have much people. And then it was a little boring for me because I was like the oldest one, and then it was just my little sister, so I'd kind of just be in the corner. And
How old were you at the time?
I was 12, and then I'm pretty sure I was 12, and then it's okay. I missed what I was saying.
You're just saying it was boring because you were.
Oh, okay. So no. The street leaders, they would always try to like just come talk to me and try to get me to communicate with them and like just talk to them. Or they're always just they were just really supportive, and I would like be able to talk to them about like stuff going out outside of the program, and then they'd always just be there for me. So it was just like I saw that, and then I continued to like come into the program, and then as more people started joining, like more people my age, I started enjoying it more. And then it got to the point where it was just a bigger group than how we started. And then I finished off my 7th grade year, I'm pretty sure. And then my 8th grade year, it was only my little sisters that would go, but I would come back, and Dionté or Paloma would always ask me, oh, like, you should, are you interested in like coming and training to be a street leader? And then that's how I got encouraged into training to be a street leader.
All right, so coming over to Carla. Carla, you know, she kind of joined at a unique time. I believe Carla joined right at August of last school year. So the pandemic was still very much a threat. And I just remember Carla and her class coming in. So Carla, you joined during the pandemic. How did UPLA support you during that difficult season of COVID? Specifically pertaining to your educational and college aspirations.
Yeah. So when the pandemic hit, I was a sophomore, and when the lockdown happened, I feel like I lost a lot of myself. I lost my sense of purpose. I felt like life really had no meaning to it. So going into my senior year, I feel like I had so little motivation to start applying to colleges. I felt like I was already behind. My friends were telling me like I already started applying to scholarships. I'm already looking at colleges I want to go to, and I hadn't even thought about it. I was confused and scared because I had fell behind. And then I found Urban Promise. I signed up originally because I needed a job, and I thought that it would be easy to tutor little kids. But it was much more than that. It was a lot bigger than I imagined. And when what I found at Urban Promise was a community, a home that provided support for me through not only just my education, but emotionally. They were always checking up on me, but specifically educationally, I don't think that I would have gone as far as I've gotten if it wasn't for the support of Dionté and Meg specifically. They followed me through my entire college journey. They sat with me through FAFSA, through college applications. They helped me write my essays, and they encouraged me when I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. I found that support through them, and every day I'm grateful that I did find that support because now I'm here and I'm in college, about to finish my first semester. So
Woo.
yeah.
And Carla, keep the mic real quick. For the people that don't know, will you let us know where you go to college?
Currently at California State University, Northridge.
Wow. Carla's humble, but she's also at Cal State Northridge on a 4-year tuition-free scholarship because she's an incredible leader. Our guy Harold, you guys probably have seen his face on our Instagram or on our website, but he's a real person, and here he is in the flesh. Harold actually joined at a very unique time. You're the newest member to the Urban Promise adult staff, and one of the first introductions to Urban Promise for you in person was our senior signing day. So for those of you that don't know, every spring we celebrate our seniors, our graduating class, just like Carla. They give riveting speeches, and then ultimately they announce where they're attending college in the fall. It's a very beautiful occasion, and that was Harold's first introduction. So Harold, what was it like joining the staff as a new member and that being your first picture of Urban Promise?
It was definitely a unique experience. It's not often where you start a job at the end of a chapter. And I say end of a chapter because, like I said, our biggest goal is to restore a community, right? So it doesn't end there. So signing day it might be the end of the school year, but it's not the end of the journey for our people. But it was weird nonetheless, just being there at the end of the school year. No one knew me. I was just eating the tacos and just talking to people, but they didn't know who I was at the moment. And I remember seeing Carla and Mike and Carlita, who's in the back, and Monty as well, and just seeing them up there and just being inspired. And having like I said, I had just found out about Urban Promise, but seeing them and seeing how moving their stories were, it just reaffirmed the decision that, I have to be here. I have to contribute with this and in some way, shape, or form, so to see that at the end of that chapter, and then to kind of work my way backwards with summer camp and now, with after school, I think that was like a beautiful moment. It's not often that you see that, so, yeah.
Thank you. I'll give it up for him. So Craig, I want to come back to you, and you shared a bit of your personal story, not necessarily today, but also some of the challenges that you've overcome. So I wanted to ask, how does having community make personal challenges more bearable?
Yeah, and I was thinking about that because, again, when I first started coming to church here, I didn't like it. and it was very confrontational. And of course, I'm special, so I need my own church, and I couldn't find one. But what happened here for me was with my wife Doria, and we started coming to church in the old church before it burned down. And I was, as I like to say, loved in. And because of the warmness of the congregation, whose hearts were turned toward Jesus, I began to feel through, people like Becky Keller and her husband Dick and Jim and Cindy Ludwig, and they were just friendly. And I wasn't very friendly. And so I can testify to the fact that you can be loved into something. And there are kids, and I know myself, I was raised in an environment I needed to protect myself because I needed to survive. And through that process, I became veiled and scaled, if you will, to what love was and receiving it. So anything I can do now to witness to somebody about that, to have a breakthrough, means that then I have to extend myself, which means then I have to be friendly. And I have to open myself up to other people. And right now, that's probably the biggest gift I've been given. And it's opened me up to a lot of different areas. But the point being that these young kids are being given an opportunity to experience a strength and a hope that is phenomenal because it's Christian-based, it is Christ-centered. And that's going to make a huge change in their lives. When I first went to your program, when I was first introduced to it and we all kind of rolled down there was, Dionté, it was not very pretty.
I remember.
And it was something that had to be built. And you know who did it was you and Meg and the volunteers and the kids that participated. And then the people that were participating that no one really knows about, the people that were supplying funds just to get a little bit done. And then all of a sudden there was classrooms, and it was beautiful to see that happen. And then people get changed. Rooms got changed, people got changed.
Carla, I'm coming back down to you. You're a part of our second graduating cohort. Would you just talk a little bit about the challenges that you faced as a first-generation Latina college student and how UPLA has been there to support your journey as well?
Being Latina and also being a woman with immigrant parents, it's often hard to find support. Educationally, there's a barrier because my parents don't speak English, they don't read it, they don't understand it. And my siblings are in the same position I am. We're kind of alone because there were no resources. We live in a low-income community, so there were no resources to help me with my journey. And so I found that there was a lack of support with my decision to further my education to go to college because my parents didn't know how. And neither did my siblings. None of my siblings decided to go to college. I am the first one, so there was no support, there was no help, and I was confused. But when I found Urban Promise, they gave me that support that I needed, and it was more than just support. They became my family, the family that I needed, because college is a very lonely thing. I feel like there's times where you feel so alone because you feel like no one understands, but I know that every single day that I wake up, I know that Urban Promise is there for me, and they have built that community for each of the alumni. They've made us comfortable enough to know that we can come to them whenever we need them. Whenever I feel like I'm upset, I stop by because they kind of give me like a lift up. And they just built that community that I needed in my life. I didn't have that support growing up, and all the staff, they became my role models. They are to the street leaders what the street leaders are to the kids. And so I just found that the thing that I struggled the most was finding that community, and Urban Promise became that community for me. even now that I'm no longer a street leader, I'm now a street leader alumni, and I'm on college campus. I struggle a lot with imposter syndrome. I often feel like I'm not worthy of being on campus. I'm not smart enough. But even then, Meg Gray does not fail to remind me every week that I am there for a purpose, and I don't think that there's anything better than that.
Carla, I don't know what classes you're taking at CSUN, but the eloquence is top tier. Thank you for that. Thank you. So just a couple more questions on our panel, and then we'll land the plane. But Harold, I wanted to turn to you. I always say you can't restore community without community. So Harold, will you touch a little bit on what role do you play in fostering community amongst parents? And will you speak to how the support of the child ultimately supports the family as well?
Yeah, of course. I always say that like it's a team effort, and I always emphasize to our parents that we're a team. So all of our Promise partners, all of our community partners, like the schools and other organizations, and our families, like it's all essential to the Urban Promise family, and that's something that I express to our parents every single day. So when I first started with Urban Promise during summer camp, like I said, a lot of them were seeing me, and they were not used to, you know, a man with a mustache receiving their children to come and talk to them and whatnot. And they were used to our street leader director, Paloma, and they loved her. To this day, they love her, and they're worried that she no longer works with the organization. But it took time to foster that. And it's understandable, right? When you're a parent, you're not just going to give your kids to anybody, right? So you have to create that bridge. And I think that, like, I personally try to create that through transparency, right? Through communication. I try my very best to communicate with all of the parents and just to foster those relationships that, you know, are important for them to build that trust. So, yeah, like I said, one of the things that helps as well is the language, right? I do think that language is essential. You know, me being a native Spanish speaker, it's a full range of folks that I can reach with my voice and with my language, right? When you're able to speak the same language as someone, there's just a certain kinship that you feel with them. A lot of our parents sometimes are intimidated by, you know, a lot of principals or you know, school administrators, teachers, what have you. But when they can see someone that they can communicate with, that's already a barrier that, you know, is torn down right off the bat. But like I said, transparency, language, honesty, and then just integrity, right? Like I see all of the campers and our street leaders as an extension of my family. You know, it's essential to see them that way. But it's a continuous thing. It's not something that, you know, happens overnight, but it's something that's continuously developed and reaffirming that we're a team. In order for us to, something that we say is creating that cycle of restoration, it takes a team effort to do that. You know, it can't just be us as the staff or the street leaders or Promise partners like you all, but the parents are essential for that as well.
Thank you so much, Harold. Well, this is, yeah, give it up for him. Well, you know, this is the Hope for the Future fundraiser. So I'll end this panel discussion by asking each of our panelists, what are your hopes for the future? So Ericka, will you kick us off? And the question I would have for you is, what do you hope would be true 5 years from now for you, for UPLA, and your fellow street leaders?
So in
Talk loud for me.
Okay. In 5 years, I'll be a freshman in college, and
Yep.
like I've seen Carla do that. She keeps coming back, so she doesn't like just she didn't like just move on to college and she's like, oh, like I don't have to go back to UPLA. Like I've seen her and Mike come back, and like they're still here and they're still supporting UPLA. So that's what I want to do. Like I want to come back to what helped me and like to the people that supported me, and that like in the way as in like when I was a camper, they helped me, and then they also supported me when now that I'm a street leader. So it's just like I got support like no matter what, and it's just you want to keep coming back wherever you're getting support, mostly when it's just a whole group and you feel like you belong to that group. So yeah.
Love that. Thank you so much, Ericka. Craig, from a board perspective, where do you hope UPLA will be organizationally 5 years from now?
Well,
And
I just hope we
wait,
won't
wait,
have
wait,
so
wait,
many
wait, wait.
board meetings. It's just-
We don't even meet often. Where do you hope we will be organizationally 5 years from now? And what can people do to help us get there?
well, I just know that there's a dream coming, and I think it's going to be even more important that a few more of us get involved and realize to the participation in that dream, and it's exciting. I think what Urban Promise, the basis of the program, is exactly something that I want to be involved in because I believe in it. And I do just want to add one thing, which is if I'm going to mention people, I have to remember that I'm forgetting people. And Phil and Rose Dunn also have put up with me for so long, and I really appreciate it. And, you know, it's one of those things where I'm also being mentored. Actually, I'm being forced, but
That's how I've read into it. I love it. Thank you so much, Craig. Let's go. Let's go, Carla. C. Rod. 5 years from now, you'll be a college graduate. Woo! um, the question to you is, how do you hope that will change things for you and your family?
Well, my family has lived low income ever since my parents migrated. Even before they migrated to the United States, and my parents came here they left everything. They left their parents. They left their education. My parents never finished their education. They left their home, their childhood, to come here and to find this American dream for their kids. I can be here. They struggled a lot, and one of the main reasons that I'm attending college is for them. And it's often difficult being first gen because there's so much weight on your shoulders. I feel like I'm the only chance that my parents have to not have to work so hard every single day, living paycheck to paycheck. So the weight is heavy on my shoulders right now. But when it gets difficult, when I feel like, why am I even at college? Like, I don't need to do this. I could be working. I remember that my career is so much more bigger than what I think it is. It's not just a career. It's the dreams that my mom has. It's the sacrifices that my dad has made. And I think that hopefully in 5 years, I'll be making double of what my dad currently makes, working 2 jobs, minimum wage, so that he doesn't have to work those 2 jobs anymore. And I hope that I'm able to provide that American dream that they came 23 years ago to search for but haven't found. I hope to end that educational barrier that my siblings and I had to go over. I hope that for my future, my kids don't have to struggle as much as I did, and I hope that I can be that change that my family needs.
Carla, thank you so much. Will you reiterate, what are you majoring in right now in college?
I'm currently exploratory, but I'm hoping to major in radiological sciences. Yes.
Well, Harold, in closing, question for you is, in 5 years, what do you hope people will be saying about Canoga Park and Urban Promise?
Um, Expansion, right? Like I think not only in Canoga Park but throughout the valley. I feel like the San Fernando Valley, it's in a very unique position, not just geographically but just socioeconomically, culturally, than all of metropolitan LA. But my vision is expansion. Not just in our Canoga Park site, but eventually planting different sites throughout Los Angeles, like you mentioned before. And once again, it takes a village. It takes a team. I feel like I just started, but the bonds that like I'm creating with so many people have been so amazing, and I want to extend that experience for a lot of people. From our campers to our street leaders, staff, and so on and so forth. But I would say that's the major thing. I usually, it's difficult for me to think. I forget what I'm gonna do next week. So I'm a day-to-day person, and I try to be intentional about the moments. For example, being present in this moment with everybody. But the ultimate goal is expansion and growth, you know, so.
Well, I could sit here and talk to these guys all day, but the food awaits us. So I would like to, yeah, just one more time, if we could thank our panelists for joining. Yeah. And what I will say as we depart from the panel, I said it in our speech, but you know, ultimately, Urban Promise is there so that our kids don't fall through the cracks, and you four on this stage exemplify what that looks like on a day-to-day. So thank you for your leadership at Urban Promise. Amen.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna go like this one over there.
Thank you so much. Ericka, you did great. All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for, again, for being here, for your attention, and just being a part of the program. I hope what you see today is that Urban Promise truly is a community, and no one person and no small group of people are doing this alone, but instead it's a collective and it's a concerted effort. So thank you so much. In closing, I would like to welcome one of our board members to the stage. This is an incredible